Joining us today is Coach Jasmine Ayala and Coach Alex Cantillo from University of Keiser. Coach Jasmine is in her fourth year as a head strength coach, where she has helped lead the Seahawks to a national championship in the previous year. Coach Jasmine is a graduate of Laverne College and also has interned at UCLA before starting at Keiser. Coach Cantillo is also in his fourth year at coaching, but also has time as a graduate assistant and previously played 6 years at Keiser. After receiving his master's from Keiser, Coach Cantillo interned at University of Georgia under Scott St. Clair, where he then accepted a full-time position back at Keiser the following year. Welcome to the show, coaches.
Appreciate it.
Yeah, so talk about y'all's relationship and how y'all found each other, and just kind of give us a little background on that.
Yeah, so when I got hired on, he was a player, so I actually had the privilege of coaching him for a few years as an assistant coach to the head strength coach for football. So I did that for 2 years, and then he was still an athlete when I got promoted to the head strength coach role. So him and I had already had a really good relationship leading up until this point. So when I took over as head, him and a lot of the other guys that helped build the program from scratch really made my transition so much smoother, being from assistant going to head position, going, I don't know what the hell I'm doing. What am I supposed to do with all these guys and run a successful program? So they really helped have my back with everything, especially with the new guys. They kind of talked me through everything. So I think that really helped our success. And our GA that first year, he actually just got hired back on. Gio, he was also my GA that first year that I took over. He interned at FAU and a few other internships. So between the guys that helped build the program and other guys that have been in other divisions, putting all of our heads together to help create a program with me being first-time head, I think was a lot smoother than I was originally anticipating. And for us to make it that far, the first year being all the way to the national championship, when we've never made it as many rounds as we have, like you said, being number 10 seed and then becoming runner-up, I think I owe a lot of credit to the guys that helped build the program with my first year.
Yeah, for sure. And for those who don't know, Keiser is a powerhouse in the NAIA world, so that's what made me really want to reach out and talk to y'all about everything. And so talk about Keiser and the NAIA world for those who don't know. Go over rules, like things that y'all do, and just give it like a brief summary of everything.
Yeah. So I've been here at Keiser for coming up now, 7 years? 7 years.
So 25% of the life.
Yeah. So our previous head coach, he always said like 25%ers, right? So like, well, there's been guys that started this program in 2017, So in 2017, what you saw, which I'm sure will give all the viewers a nice view a little bit later. But what you saw here, right, with our field and our facility, that wasn't here when I first got here, right, as a player. So I committed to Keiser on blind faith, just kind of on their word that they were going to build it to what it is today. In 2017, right, we had Coach Doug Silsha at the time, who's now the head coach at Lenore Ryan, and I know you had Coach Caldwell on your podcast as well. Is a good friend of mine.
He's a good guy.
Yeah,
We like him.
Good friend of ours. So he started this program. We all started it together, and then to build it, right, to see it, to what it is today, right. It means a lot to me because obviously I grew as a person, as a player, and as most importantly as a man, right, within the program. So, looking back at the last couple of years, you see the growth in the playoffs, right? And just we've made it to the playoffs, I think, like 5 or 4 years in a row, and then just making it my last year in 2022 as a player, coming back and then winning it, right, under Coach Sosha, but. Most importantly now, right, we have Coach Russ, right, Coach Miles Russ, still a day one guy, right? So we call him, we talk about day one guys and the 25%ers. Coach Russ is a day one guy. So he's been here with, since the start with us. And, he's just, we have a formula, we know what it takes to win. And, he's just continuing to build this thing, but now he's doing it his way. So I have so much respect for Coach Russ taking this thing over and just doing it the way that he envisioned. He was an assistant head coach, right, the last couple of years during our playoff runs, and then he got the call. He got the call, and it's his turn. So I think that kind of like how Jazz was with her transition to being a head strength and conditioning coach, right, for football. I think the guys really were just so excited for Coach Russ. Just because the kind of person he is. If you know Coach Russ, as I have over the years, he's just a down-to-earth guy. He's just a guy you want to play for, right? We look at guys like in the NFL, like Dan Campbell, and guys that you just want to go to war for. I put Coach Russ in that same category just because of the type of person that he is, and I think that these guys really bought into that this first year and took us to having another great successful season in his first year as a head coach as well.
Jasmine, what about you coming all the way from California? How'd you find Keiser?
So actually, my strength coach and mentor at University of Laverne, Coach Durant, he knew the previous head guy, David Padilla. So when COVID shut down and everything, Durant was just doing Zoom calls with everybody he knows. He's like, hey, the only thing we can do is network. So let's just network, let's learn, let's do whatever. So he had Coach Padilla on a Zoom call one time when we were all shut down. I was wrapping up my internship at UCLA. Post Padilla having our talk and all of us, him teaching us what he taught us in that lesson. It was about a week or so later. After that Zoom call, I got the call from Coach Durant, and he said, hey, a job's opening up at Padilla's school, give him a call. So from that Zoom interview, we're just trying to network and talk and everything. Got connected with Coach Padilla, had an interview with him. A week later from my interview, they said, hey, you're hired, you got a month, get out here. I was like, okay, cool. So from that transition, I didn't know what was gonna happen. We're in COVID, I'm finishing up an internship, half in person and trying to figure out the rest online at UCLA, going, I don't know what's next. Do I do another internship? What do I do? So it was one of those, hey, this is a job opportunity. If I get it, I'm going. So I just told my family, this is in the works. We might be moving soon. I might need your help going across country in about a month or so. So fortunately, I got that position, and luckily Keiser was still practicing. They were still working out during that time. So I got here that summer of COVID. So that's kind of how I got connected, was just networking and, hey, there's a job. Go. So I was fortunate enough to learn under Coach Padilla, and then when he left, it was the beginning of my third year, he just dropped a bomb. It was, hey, I'm leaving. Two things. You're either going to be my assistant or here's football. You're in charge. And I just kind of sat there shell-shocked and went, are we sure? Do you know what you're doing? Me in charge of football? And it's always one of those, you don't think you're ready for that position until you figure out you can do it. I didn't think, are we sure? We know what we're doing? Everybody was just, hey, you've watched for 2 years, you know what's going to happen, you know how to do this. And I was fortunate enough to have Coach Sosha and Coach Russ believe in me, say, hey, they didn't really care if it was Padilla or who, they just said, can you get this job done? We think you can do it, do the job. We don't really, gender roles don't really play a factor. They said, do the job, hold your own, and show us that you can do it. So Coach Sosha was kind enough to believe in me to do that. Same with Coach Russ. I remember being in that meeting and they were both in there saying, yeah, Coach Sosha asked Coach Russ, do we think she can? And Russ said yes. And then when Russ took over, he was, hey, I've seen you do it. You're staying as my head. So I've been fortunate enough to work with those guys who believed in me even when I didn't really believe in myself that I could do this and show me that I can. So I've been really fortunate in that aspect that Durant had a connection, Padilla believed in me, and the rest of the coaches believed in me too. This is something that I could take on and help take these guys further.
That's awesome. It was an easy transition going from, assistant to head like that. So even being a female. So, talk about being a female in the strength coach world with these guys, because you don't get a lot of females in the football world.
Definitely not. It's been actually really fun. I thoroughly enjoy it, and that was part of my transition. Was obviously you see males in football a lot. They play, they know everything, so that's why I relied on these guys. Like, hey, I've never played it down in my life. How am I going to get these guys to relate to me and know what I'm talking about, even if I've never been on the field and then translate it over like these guys? So it came with a lot of watching practices, talking to the coaches of different positions, talking to obviously players of the past, and how I mentioned Gio earlier, he also played before he interned. So it was a lot of talking and then just kind of getting to know the guys as people rather than going into the weight room and just trying to be like a dictatorship the entire time of, yeah, this is what we're going to do. That's part of it. But the more I got to get to know the guys and the more they kind of realized, hey, she's trying, she wants to make us better. She's not just pulling things out of the air just to tell us what to do. She has a rhyme and a reason behind it, and people are backing her up. So, okay, let's trust her with this. So the more guys kind of saw that I cared rather than just putting them through hellish workouts and making their lives miserable, the more they kind of bought in to that, and it kind of comes with it. And it's fun to be in a weight room, and we just finished up a lift right before this, and being able to demonstrate weights that guys are using for their working set. So I think that creates a whole lot more buy-in as they know that I can lift and holy shit, she's actually stronger than she looks. And I can just demo a couple reps, like no big deal, while they're struggling to do that weight for a working set. So that helps a lot more. And we do some movements where I kind of push them around and they kind of get thrown off like, oh crap, she just pushed me. I was like, you're going to let me be the smallest D lineman to ever throw you around? Like, that's what we want to do? Yep. So it's a little bit of like giving them a hard time while joking, but then showing them that everything that I'm asking you to do, I have done. So the guys have seen me work out. They'll hop in on my workouts every once in a while. And I just constantly reiterate, like, yes, I can't replicate the field stuff, and I don't know what that feels like to go play a game on Saturday and have to turn around and go to lift on Monday. But everything I'm asking you to do, I've personally done, or I've done a version of it myself. So I'm not just gonna put you guys through things that I don't know what it feels like. So that definitely helps with them a lot with their buy-in. And I haven't had an issue in the last 3 years. You get every once in a while, but for the most part, the team is really good. They have my back, and they know that I have theirs, and I couldn't be happier. I got a really good group of guys. I say that to people all the time. I'm fortunate to have guys that started it and kind of helped with those transitions with the new kids, and every time I got a really good group of guys, and coaches are supportive too. So having coaches back me up with the guys, they just say, hey, whatever she says goes. So I don't get any pushback from coaches, which really helps with that transition to the player buy-in and trust and relationships.
For sure. Obviously, y'all are a team. How do y'all split up responsibilities? Is one person in charge of speed? Maybe one does the weight room?
We always joke that it's the other half of the other one's brain. So if my brain's not working for something and I'm stuttering over my words or trying to figure out what's going on, he's able to pick back up real quick and be like, okay, this is what she means, and vice versa. So we kind of split it up stations because we know what the other one wants and we know the job that we want to get accomplished. So it's just, hey, what station do you want today? And we'll kind of alternate that way. He's a little bit better watching from Georgia with speed work, so he's been able to take that on a little bit better as far as their starts and their get-offs. I take the plyos, and then we kind of alternate that way. It's like, hey, they've been doing good with you. Let's just keep it that way, so that way you got a better eye for that stuff. But in the weight room, it's pretty much all the same. He helps me program. We kind of pinball ideas off of the other one, and then we just transition it over. We all coach the same thing. We'll alternate of injured guys, like, hey, you got the injured guys today, let's modify them. It's, hey, who wants what? That's just kind of how we alternate, being the other half of the other one's brain.
So talk about the staff at Keiser. How many coaches do y'all have? GAs, interns? Just kind of go through everything y'all have available.
So Keiser's actually very fortunate. You know, the way they do it, I think, is kind of unlike any other NAIA school. We have a staff of 8. So we have 4 full-time.
Send some over to me.
Yeah. we have a 4 full-time and 4 GAs.
That's awesome.
So and that's the way that's obviously grown over the last couple years. And I've talked to multiple strength and conditioning coaches around the nation, and they it's kind of unheard of at the NAIA level, and even sometimes even the D2 level, or FCS level. So having a staff of 8, we're very fortunate to kind of split up responsibilities. Obviously, Jazz oversees football. She does swim as well, swim and dive, and then softball with the assist of the GAs. And I oversee women's basketball, wrestling, men's and women's tennis, and I assist with football as well. Gio oversees women's soccer, track and field, baseball, men's basketball. And then Daniel has both lacrosses, men's soccer, am I missing one?
Volleyball.
And volleyball. So that's a new addition. So there's been some shifts this past spring, over the break. We kind of made some shifts in teams amongst each other, but the GAs also have responsibilities as well. So Sarah, who's an absolute rock star, she oversees cheer and dance, and she also gets a little bit of the programming with Gio with track and field.
Sarah also has Devo baseball and flag football.
Devo baseball and flag football as well, which is huge in the NAIA world, right? So flag football has a partnership with the NFL and the NAIA, right? Mm-hmm. So the NAIA has a partnership with the NFL, for flag football specifically, women's flag. So once they go to their national tournament, they do that in Atlanta, and they do it at Mercedes-Benz stadiums. Definitely a huge event that goes on for flag football. That's a great experience for a GA. Right, so she's gonna get to travel with the team. She's gonna get the full, basically full-time head experience, especially when they go to their national tournament, going to Mercedes-Benz Stadium and seeing that play out. The NAIA does a great job with that. Jazz was their head before Sarah kind of came on now. And then Eddie just got here, who's a GA. He's helping me with some of my teams like women's basketball. And Ryan oversees golf and assists with men's basketball. So they really get the full experience. We really try to, with our curriculum, we really try to, kind of hone down on certain teams and kind of just want them to get, a good coaching experience, right? Because I had a great experience as a GA here, even though I was one of 2 GAs. So a little bit different, right? They kind of called me the floater GA, so like I assisted with every single team that I could, right? So I was going from lift to lift, long days, and it was looking back on it, it was like, sometimes you look back and it's like, wow, how did I achieve that? But it kind of just set me up for success and set me up for this full-time role. And us, having that experience as interns and also as GAs, we want to give back and give that experience back to them and make sure that they're just ready for when they do graduate and they're ready to take on their first full-time role.
Now, how many weight rooms do y'all have? Is it, 1, 2? Maybe talk about the weight room size.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we have 2. So we have the field house, which football predominantly works out of. We have 10 racks, so 5 on each side. They're only single-sided, not the double-sided racks. So it gets a little crowded when we split up. We have 2 lifts for football, so we'll go offense, defense. Right now in spring, it's based off of class times. But when we got 50, 60-plus guys in the weight room at one time trying to get everything done within the hour, we utilize.
Yeah. What y'all's organized for football?
We start in summer about 115-ish, a little over 100. I think right now we're close to 90. So they're looking to bring more guys at the start of summer. Obviously, we had guys graduate, guys are done. So we're pushing that 90 mark right about now. So we utilize the outside space a lot, and we have, I believe it's 26 teams on campus. So we do our best to try to get as many teams in the field house as we can for when coaches say, hey, we want the field house, because that's a little bit of the nicer one. Things are more organized. We have more equipment. We also have the SLC, which is the Student Life Center. So that's more of the gym for everybody. Like students that aren't athletes can go in and work out of there. So we try to organize our times to utilize both weight rooms, which the SLC is a little bit smaller, doesn't have as much equipment. So we try to put teams that aren't as large in there. But however, sometimes that's not always the case. Sometimes we have track and that's 30-something people, and we kind of got to figure it out. And so we just operate off of those 2.
Yeah, SLC still has 10 racks, which is good. But I think the most important part and the most important aspect of that is just obviously scheduling. Like I know, you've had a couple strength coaches talk about scheduling on your podcast, and that's just a common thing that all of us just kind of, we got to be organized. With 20, 24, 25, 26 teams on campus, men's and women's and all sports, we just got to figure out what time works best for them and work around their practice schedules. And you got to be organized. We got to be organized, and it's been I think we've developed kind of a method. Everybody's practice and consistency kind of stays the same year round. So for the most part, I think everybody's happy with their times. Like there's really not much pushback.
That's probably the hardest thing to do is the scheduling for all the teams.
Definitely. When I took it over, I just tell coaches I'll send a mass email right before, and I say, tell me 3 times, tell me which weight room you want. First come, first serve. If you take forever to respond, sorry, you're shit out of luck on your time. So I get coaches.
I can imagine 26 teams. I have trouble 14 here at Paris. I mean, that's crazy. But 2 weight rooms is the way to do it.
Yeah.
It helps. Otherwise, we might be working from 12 to 12 if we had to get all 26 in the field house. There would be there'd be no sleep.
Yeah. Well, y'all do a great job at social media too, showing what y'all do and everything. Just kind of talk about that.
So actually, the graduate assistant that he mentioned earlier, Eddie, he's the one that's been taking over all of that. He found out that we had an Instagram page. People have told us in the years past that, hey, you guys have an Instagram page, and we just kind of looked at it like, we have way too much. We're not going to add social media to our plate. That is a lot of work to be able to maintain that and make the videos look good. And so when Eddie found out, he kind of asked like, hey, can I take it on? And we all went, here, you want that is yours. That can be your baby. But it's been a good thing. It's kind of promoted competition more within our guys. Like they want to make sure that they're doing their lifts right more than before, because they're like, hey, this is going on social media. I got to look good. I got to represent the program. Like it kind of boosts their ego a little bit, especially when he comes around and he starts videoing them, and they're like, oh wait, let me throw more weight on, and then did that look at. So it's been good for the morale and the camaraderie and the competition in the weight room, but like you said, it's also drawn more attention to Keiser. We've had multiple people reach out, some people for internships, more people just kind of find out what we do. Some guys have videoed or seen the videos through that, and it now opens up a little bit more for the position coaches for recruiting, guys being able to see that. So it's just opened a lot more doors and brought more attention to Keiser in football, and people who have never heard of Keiser, or people that have heard of it but been like, oh wait, Keiser has a football team? When did that happen? How long has that been around?
The online school is what they usually say.
Yes, they're so used to it. Keiser has so many satellite campuses everywhere that everybody just thinks, oh, they're just one of those schools that has a bunch of satellite campuses in their classes, until they find out, oh crap, they actually have athletics, they have all that stuff. So Eddie's done a good job with football. He's starting to open it up to other teams as well. So I believe he's done Devo baseball, and he did a video for softball. So it's starting to promote the other sports as well, which will help the sport coaches, it'll help the athletes. It'll overall build the school in the long run. So it's good that he wanted to take that upon himself and kind of draw more attention.
Sure. I wanted to give that Eddie a little shout out there, because that was awesome. It shows what you do. It shows in today's world, that's your resume for everything. That's everyone wants to see what the next team's doing, and especially like a school like Keiser, who's now starting to consistently get in the championship game. Like, everybody wants to see what y'all do, and so it's awesome to see that as well. So let's talk about philosophy. We can kind of keep it football specific here if you want, but talk about what you teach, what do you coach, what is your foundation, maybe some methods that you use.
Yeah, so for me, right, we want to create the most explosive athlete, right? That's what kind of I've learned in my time, right? You want to dissect the sport, right? Whether I'm working with football, whether I'm working with basketball, whether I'm working with tennis, right? The first thing we got to do as strength coaches is dissect your sport, right? What plane do they need to be strong in? What plane do they need to be quick in? How can we strengthen our athlete and prepare them, right, for the best performance possible, right? So that's the first thing I do, and from there I kind of make calculated decisions, right? So okay, we want to, for football, let's create an explosive athlete. We want to make sure that we're fast linearly, right? We want change of direction, so we got to make sure that depending on whatever time of the year we are in, right, that's what we need to work on. So obviously this spring we're trying to put on some good size, right? Just like every other team in the nation, right? Everybody wants to get big in the spring. Coaches, especially like head coaches, position coaches, tell you, hey, our guys need to get big. These linemen need to lose weight. All right, well, that's a lot, on our plate. So we just try to make the best calculated decisions, and I try to make the best calculated decisions for my team, right? That I oversee, to kind of prepare them, and not only just prepare them for their sport, but to thrive, right? I want them to thrive. So depending on whatever sport it is, if it's a rotational sport, just kind of including all those aspects, dissecting the sport, and then just programming from there, and putting him in the best position, right, to not only aid in injury prevention, but just to help him feel strong, right? Help him feel strong. I think that is such a morale booster. I want my athletes to feel strong. I want them to feel confident, and I want them to feel confident in their lifts that they're doing, right? So I teach cleans, right? We squat, love to squat, but I love, right, all the Olympic lifts, because at the end of the day, right, we just want to create the best overall athlete. And and most importantly, right, prepare them to not only we want them to thrive in their sport. So that's kind of how I see it.
Yeah, very similar to Cantillo, because we've worked together for so long. Our philosophies kind of align. One big thing that I preach in the weight room, more to my female athletes, because I don't necessarily want to say it's an issue, more confidence, but I preach to my teams, we're never going to say, I can't in here. Like, that's not something you guys get to say. That's not words that are going to come out of your mouth. It might be I'm not there yet, but now you have a goal. I can't isn't something that we're gonna do. We're not gonna talk about it. We're not gonna think that. It's okay, I didn't hit this right now. Now I have a goal. This is what I want to accomplish. It gives you something to look forward to when we're in there. So that's something I'm big on is, okay, try it again. We're not gonna say, I can. So it transfers over into the field too. Once they get onto the field and it's game day, it's not gonna be like, they look at somebody, oh, I'm going against that guy. Shit. It's, all right, challenge. Let's go. So it's getting them to take on challenges head on and realize that they can do anything. If they put their mind to it, they give themselves goals. They might not get it next week. It might take them a couple weeks or a couple months to get there, but everything is possible if they put their nose down and they grind. And another thing that I kind of mirror with Coach Russ, what I really like what he's done, is he's been big on, yes, we're developing players, but we're also developing men. So how do we get them as better men outside of the field, outside of the weight room? So Russ has done a really, really good job of, hey, let's develop them. He wants them to be good husbands, fathers, sons, everything. So it transfers over. When they come into our office, someone will just barge through the door and start talking, and we'll kind of kick them out and be like, try it again. Knock, address the person, ask a question, use please and thank you. So I think my philosophy aligns more towards, yes, their sport as well, like Cantillo said, getting them ready and how can we make sure they're the best they can possibly be, but also what I'm trying to teach you goes so much farther outside of the sport, because everybody knows that sport comes to an end one day. Your life and how you are as a person doesn't end when your sport ends. So how can I make you better from here on out once your college career is over?
So the off season started for y'all, and talk about what it looks like as an athlete. Are they coming in lifting in the morning, lifting in the afternoon, running in the afternoon? Just kind of go through what it's like to be a football athlete there now.
Yeah, so we started, this is week 3?
Yeah.
Yeah. So this is week 3. So we started a few weeks ago. We go 4-day split, upper, lower, Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday. So we'll go upper on Monday and then just alternate it from there. On the lower days, we'll start outside and then we'll finish in the weight room. On the upper days, we'll kind of focus a little bit more on our Olympic and our explosive lifts and getting all that work in that we need that way with our uppers. And then starting next week, which I'm really excited about, starts our fourth quarter Fridays. So we'll go into lifting Monday, Tuesday, Thursday. 5:30, they're going to be out on the field. It's going to be the station work. They rotate all the way through. So we've kind of got it. This week it's going to be a lot more change of direction, finishing stuff, a little bit of some strongman stuff that we get with the guys. So we'll do 4 fourth quarter Fridays, so 1 every week in February. And then we kind of transition that to spring ball, where we'll jump down to 3 lifts. I believe we go Monday, Wednesday, Friday. Yeah. So once spring ball begins, I think that's going to be a morning practice, lift in the afternoon, and then it's the 3 lifts. So right now everything's in the afternoon until the fourth quarters start.
So we have 2 lifts, 1 at 2 and 1 at 3. That's kind of just what and normally in the past we've done it in the morning when I was a player. Springtime we usually went morning, but I think coach kind of wanted to keep it consistent, in the afternoon for right now, and then because they're going to start transitioning, I think, to that morning practice as well. So yeah, so it's been good. It's been a great start. These guys are getting after it, and now when we start getting into these fourth quarter Fridays, they're going to start getting up early. But at the end of the day, we also do have some competition drills in between each station, just to, continue to develop that competition. And that's what we want our guys to do. We want our guys to compete. We want them to, just compete with yourself, but again, compete with your teammates, right? And that's what we got to do. And that, to be a great program, right, at any level, right? It could be the NAIA level, it could be the D1 level, D2, but we just want our guys to compete. Right, we want our guys to compete and then thrive in the situations that they're put in. So those fourth quarter Fridays have become a staple of the program, and also just the weight room in general has become a staple. We really hang our hat on what we do, and seeing it from start now to where we are. Obviously, the way this thing is built to where it is today, it's something that I take personal, and it's something that Jazz takes personal as well. And Coach Russ, again, a day one guy, he takes what we do and the importance of it, very, very personal, and he knows that at the end of the day is going to win or lose you some ball games. So what we do, it's fun. It's fun, and it's the best job in the world. So
it's definitely fun. It gets the competition. I was talking with an athlete along with some of the position coaches yesterday. The hard stuff that we do and the guys that actually push themselves when it comes to fourth quarter or the weight room, it gives the players a better idea of, hey, who are the guys that I can rely on? When there's 10 other guys with me out on the field, what are the 10 that I want next to me? If they see a guy slacking off, I don't want him with me on Saturday. How am I supposed to rely on him if he can't, do all his reps in the weight room, or if he can't finish through a line? So it's kind of promoting that, and talking with that athlete yesterday, he kind of had a light bulb moment of, oh, you guys aren't just on us all the time to be on us. I'm like, who do you want with you? if this guy's not finishing through the line, is that the guy you want on the field with you on Saturday? And he's like, no. So it's kind of cool to see the light bulb and the connection with those guys and them realizing, hey, I can count on this guy. I'm going to push him because I know he's got my back the same way I'm going to have his. So that's a little bit more the competition that he was talking about, but it's for those guys to see, hey, this is how they are in spring. If they're not doing good in spring, they're not going to be good come game day. That's a lot of trust your brothers, push your brothers, and let's see who can rely on who when push comes to shove and shit gets hard. Because it's going to get hard.
You mentioned you run before leg days. Talk about what they're doing outside. Are they doing speed work? You mentioned linear speed earlier too. Just kind of give like a little summary of what they're doing outside as well.
Today they did some plyos. Kind of before their heavy squat day today. We just did some deceleration work. So that's just kind of we actually posted one on Instagram as well last week. Kind of looking at what our Friday looked like. So today we kind of progressed our deceleration drill. I also see like Coach Joey G post a lot of things on Instagram, and I see kind of like what he does, and then we can also look at that and kind of make decisions moving forward. But so I saw this deceleration drill I think from a couple weeks back, or maybe it was one that he posted a while ago. But so we started with our hurdles just as he did, and then we moved into 5 yards last week, just a deceleration drill, right? Our skills. They would kind of move they would kind of finish with their right leg up, and then our bigs would kind of finish with their feet even, and then we'd switch it with our skills every rep. So today we progressed it to 10 yards, and then we plan to progress it even more, right, with a 10-yard acceleration, change of direction, come back, and then a decelerate. So that's just the kind of things that we you talk about with social media. We can obviously we have our plan, but we can also connect and network with other coaches to kind of see okay, how can we develop this, or how can we better our speed and agility work. We have our plan, but we want to make sure that we're putting these guys in good positions to succeed, and then we go in the weight room and have a good lift. So I think it's been great up to this point. Our speed and agility work and the summer is super important as well.
Yeah.
I think that really put us in prime position. Our guys, we don't have catapult or anything like that, but so we can't really see what these guys were running. But if I had to guess, with some of these South Florida kids, we had a couple guys probably running 20, 21, hopefully. 19, 20, but yeah, some guys, we got some good speed, but just trying to, elevate them and working on the simple things, right? So just going into deceleration and then eventually progressing that with change of direction and then linear speed. I think that's what we've been really trying to hone in on now.
Awesome. So creeping into summertime, what is the atmosphere like that you keep a lot of kids over summer? Are they getting jobs? And then also, how ultimately lifting in summertime with no school?
Yeah, so we start summer training the first week of June. So we try to keep some guys on campus. They work out a deal with housing and the jobs on campus to try to keep a decent amount that they can stay in the dorms, but they'll work on campus jobs. And then some guys get internships and they stay around. So the deal is, if you're local, you are here every day. If you live hour plus, like Miami, you make twice a day. If you live in Florida, but you're maybe 3 hours or something like that, still try to get twice and see if you can stay with somebody one night, but at least try to make one day. If you're within driving distance, you can make at least something, but they'll try to keep, was it close to 20 on campus?
Yeah,
about close to 20 on
So
campus.
what total head count y'all would have over summer?
Yeah, 40 to 50.
That's a good number.
40 to 50, and then all the workouts we use Team Builder. So all the workouts go out on Team Builder, and the returners are really good with the incoming freshmen getting on a group call or putting it in their chat, whatever, saying, hey, this is what we did outside, this is what you need to do outside, this is how you do the stuff. So hopefully some of the guys coming in and put in a little bit of work prior to us getting them, at least stuff won't be as big of a, oh my God, what the hell are we doing? And they got in contact with the guys that are here. They've kind of talked them through a little bit of the stuff, and then they've been able to transition a little bit easier coming into fall training, starting, training camp, where it goes a little bit heavier.
Yeah. So that's a tough, like obviously ideally you want all your guys here. Right?
Perfect world, everybody's here.
World, you want all your guys here in the summer, but we try to, obviously that's a lot of meeting with the head coaches or the head coach and position coaches, and just making sure that that we stay on top of them. Getting them on Team Builder is probably the easiest way to kind of get their workout to them. And just they have to, the position coaches have meetings with them, those guys that are out of state or they live kind of far, right? So just kind of reminding them and making sure we're all aligned with the goal. Right, they need to be coming into training camp in shape. So just simply to avoid any soft tissue injuries, right? That's always like kind of the biggest thing when you guys come in from out of state that aren't here through the summer program. That's kind of when you tend to see a lot of those soft tissue injuries. But we try to avoid that as much as we can. Making sure that we stay in contact with these guys and the position coaches stay in contact with these guys. That's always the toughest part. I don't know how it is at Ferris, but I think 40 to 50 is a good number, but like I wish we could have all of them,
Yeah. Well, even at Ferris, we probably get 60% of the team. But like you said, they all have jobs or they live off campus, and so whenever they come in, they're just living out throughout their rent. And when they come in, we do morning times and afternoon times. So that way, if they have work all day, they can come in the morning, or vice versa with it too. So you get done with your summertime workouts, you go into the in-season part. Talk about how you keep your athletes healthy, how often they come in, and what are you doing in season to set your team apart?
In season, we shifted so they're still lifting 3 days a week. We kind of put an upper emphasis on Mondays because we know they're going to be tired after Saturday, and a lot of them probably aren't going to recover correctly on Sunday. So just having that reality. So we upper emphasize on Monday. Tuesday mornings we lift. Everybody is lifting before class. So we go 6 and 7 a.m. and we kind of stamp that as that's our hard working day on Tuesday. So they know that they're going to heavy clean and they're going to heavy squat, which is kind of cool to see guys that early in the morning acting like crackheads to squat and clean, especially when they lifted at 2 and 3 the day before. So we kind of stamp that as our Tuesdays is we are going to squat and we are going to clean. Yep, that's what it was. Big ass work day. So they know that that's what Tuesday is, and Tuesdays are a little bit longer practices for the guys too. So it matches that in the weight room. Wednesday we back off and it's a little more of, hey, whatever weights we're using, make it move fast. So we don't really program heavy percentages. We drop the percentages and just making sure that they're feeling good again. So at least they get one of the splits each day. Thursday, they'll come in, they'll do a mobility day, and Friday, that's it. They just go through, walk through. So we'll see them those 4 days, make sure they do active recovery. Biggest thing the guys hate is a yoga mobility. When I make them do that on Thursday, you would think it's harder than the workout. The way they cry, they make sounds, all the groaning and moaning. I tell them now, hate me now, thank me later. When you stand up, you're like, oh, wait, my hips can move all of a sudden, or my ankle feels better. You guys needed stuff that they should be doing, but so we kind of emphasize their mobility aspect a little bit more.
So you are seeing them Monday through Thursday, correct?
Yes.
That's awesome. Let's talk about, how y'all handle adversity. What's going on if, not that y'all lose much, but let's say there's something that happens, maybe an injury and team morale's down. How are y'all handling that?
Yeah, so, I think, we kind of touched on it a little bit, right? Football is a game that teaches you a lot about life, right? And I think that's just kind of what we really try to emphasize to these guys is this game is going to prepare you for life. Okay, there's going to be things that you deal with on the field that you're going to look back one day and you're going to say, hey, like, wow, I kind of been in this position, I've dealt with adversity, and then I was able to kind of push through this, right, or push forward. So especially, everybody kind of comes from different walks of life here, right? So you got guys, maybe some FCS guys that came down to the NAIA level, D2 guys that came down here, or, we've got a couple high school guys. Like everybody, right, comes from a different walk of life and has different things going on. So I think, again, most importantly is when they are dealing with those adverse times, just being there for them, right? And whether that's obviously, adversity because, we didn't win a game, or just adversity in their personal life, right? Building that relationship with the athlete is the utmost important thing that I feel like myself and Jazz, like, we do a great job of, because, this game, it's only for a limited time, but how can we prepare you? And also Coach Russ does a great job in just reminding the guys that, right? Like, this game is going to prepare you for more than just Saturdays, and that's kind of how we handle it, right? We always say, being on time, if you're on time, you're late, if you're early, you're on time. So that's just something so simple that we can teach these young men to just, prepare them for later on. So that's just one example of the many. But, I think building that relationship, building that rapport with them, not just with football, but just with all the athletes, right? I think, Keiser's pretty well lined from the top down to just, prepare them for after. Prepare them for what's to come, but also to succeed while they're here.
Yeah, definitely. I think part of the adversity, too, is what I noticed a lot in the national championship game, this last one, when things didn't start going our way, like Cantillo talked about, losses, you're going to feel it. When it started getting to that point where guys just started shutting down, like, that's it, we're done, game's not over. I tell people with this game, the last game that we played, I saw maybe about a quarter of it throughout the entire 4 quarters, between going around to guys, trying to be like, hey, head up, you still have to fight. There's still 2 quarters left. Yeah, there's still time on the clock. You do not stop fighting until all the zeros are up there. I don't care if there's a second left, whatever the case is. So it was me going around to the guys and trying to reiterate to them, like, hey, you might be feeling like crap, but offense is on the field. You still have brothers who are trying to fight. You need to get up. Everybody's feeling the exact same way you're feeling, but everybody still needs to keep fighting and still keeps needing to push each other. Like, you are not the only one who is having this struggle or was got this feeling or was frustrated, who's upset, whatever the case may be. It's like, you can feel it, but you also still need to realize that you're not alone in this. You need to pick your brothers up the same way that they're going to pick you up. So that entire time was going around and guys kind of nodding like, okay. And then they would pull themselves back together, they would get on their team and then go back. So it was a whole lot of reminding that your brothers are going through the exact same thing. When adversity hits, you can deal with it, but don't let it rattle you and tear you down and break you apart to where you can't get back up again. You let adversity go, you deal with it, and we keep moving on from there. It's not the end of the world when we hit adversity.
Love that, because y'all don't ever, I hate to say it, but y'all don't have adversity too often here. Y'all are beating Division II teams, competing with Division I teams, so y'all got it going on there at Keiser again. So what about the flip side, whenever you deal with challenges? So how are you handling these situations where, hours might be long, time might be tough? How are you as coaches handling and overcoming adversity?
Yeah, you can start.
So, obviously there's always those days, right? There's always those days that we have as strength coaches.
Drinks only work so much, huh?
Yeah. So, well, number one, caffeine.
Yeah.
Yeah, caffeine's great. No, but on a serious note, right? So we, for me, right, I just remind myself, this is the best job in the world, right? We gotta love what we do. And we're honestly, myself, like I tend to, just remind myself that it's a blessing to be in the position that I'm in and to work with athletes for a living and to not only work with athletes, but to impact their lives, right? So that's kind of how I deal with that adversity, is just continuously telling myself, like, you're doing what you want to do and you're doing it at a high level, right? And I think that, even when that confidence or, that doubt starts to creep in a little bit, you just start to remind yourself that, it's a little bit bigger. It's just kind of like, right, we talk about football, dealing or preparing you, right? So football prepared me, right? It's bigger than me, right? I'm a strength and conditioning coach, but it's the athletes that I'm worried about now. Just like I was worried about the team as an athlete, now I'm worried about my athletes as a coach. Right, so I think that's kind of, how I deal with it. Just continuously telling myself, hey man, like, you got the best job in the world, and it's amazing to kind of grow, and obviously this is my second year full time, so I'm still kind of fresh in the thing, right? So, but 4th year, in it. But it's been an awesome journey so far, and definitely a lot of growing left to do, but a lot of growth has been kind of displayed up to this point. So just seeing that, up where I'm at right now, and kind of the growth I've had here within Keiser alone, you kind of reflect on that too.
Yeah, I think my biggest thing is I am not good at asking for help. So when things get really, really hard, I think I'm supposed to take everything on when it comes to life outside of Keiser, when it comes to the weight room, when it comes to all these responsibilities. I think I need to take everything on, and everybody has to remind me, hey, you have assistants, you have graduate assistants, you have interns for a reason. Use them. So I kind of put more on my plate than I need to. And like Cantillo said, we pour so much into these athletes. I think sometimes we forget to take care of ourselves. So that's been my struggle and my learning process this year is, hey, it's okay to take care of yourself. Every once in a while, you give so much to these kids and they see it and they recognize it that they're not going to get upset if you go, hey, I need help, or I need a second, or I need something. So that's been my thing this year is relying on Cantillo, relying more on the GAs a little bit more, and realizing, okay, I don't have to do everything on my own. I'm fortunate enough to have my family back me up, and I made a call, hey, I need help. My family was out here the next week to realize that, hey, you can't do everything on your own. It's okay to rely on the people that are closest to you and ask them for help. And if they really got your back, they're not going to question it. They're going to help you until you're good again, and then we just keep going. So I think that's, for me, more my support system is how I get through that adversity.
Love that. That's a good shout out too. So talk about y'all's strategies for injury prevention. What are y'all doing to prevent injuries on the team and keeping these guys healthy?
Yeah. So like we talk about on Thursdays, we incorporate kind of, we really like to focus on our active recovery, at least in season, right? So we work hand in hand with our athletic training staff and kind of, develop a plan, so they start working with them. Obviously, they're the kind of the first point of contact whenever an injury does occur. So from there, they kind of develop their plan, and then, as long as we're kind of aligned within our strategies, we can progress or regress from there, right? So if they come to us with an ankle sprain, we make sure that we meet with them and they give us their injury report. Okay, he has a grade 1 or grade 2, and kind of working hand in hand with them. But, as far as in season, to kind of prevent injury, we really try to keep them strong, right? We want to keep them strong. We want to keep them lifting, and, we want to make sure that we're recovering actively, right? So, just stressing the importance of recovery and sleep and nutrition to these guys as much as possible. Obviously, like, being at the NAIA level and, D2 level, very similar. A lot of the resources that we have aren't as advanced as some of the D1 schools, right? So just controlling what we can control as coaches, but also educating our athletes on the importance of sleep and how that within itself can prevent, or not necessarily prevent, but aid in the prevention of injury, and making sure that they're getting in there in the athletic training room whenever they're banged up, and just kind of, again, I think education is so important when talking about injury prevention, because that's half the battle. In my opinion, I think that's half the battle is just educating these guys and doing what we do as coaches to keep them strong in season, right? Making sure they're lifting, making sure they're staying strong, and then they're recovering.
Yeah, I think definitely part of that too is, especially when we're on the field, a lot of guys who may not have had experience before, they don't know how to properly run. So when it comes to running, hey, let's not overstride, or this is where your feet should be so we don't pop a hammy, to kind of prevent some of the soft tissue stuff before it even gets anywhere near that point, is fixing some of their mechanics so that way we can keep them healthy on the field. And then once we get in season, the guys that we know play a lot or have a lot higher reps on the field during practice, keeping those relationships open where they go, hey, it's not quite an injury yet, but I'm starting to feel this. We're able to modify them in the weight room and be like, okay, you're starting to feel it. It's nothing big yet, but before it gets there, let's, take out this movement for the day and replace it with this, or let's focus more on the rehab side of things and getting it a little bit stronger before we start throwing a whole lot of load underneath it. So I think building our relationship with our athlete and the guys that we know we can trust and who aren't going to try to BS their way and say, oh, this hurts, I don't want to. We look at it and get those relationships going, and we'll modify it for that day before it gets to that point, and just kind of reminding them, hey, yes, you feel it. It doesn't mean you get to go 100% on the field or 100% in here. We need to stay smart about it until whatever you're feeling is no longer a feeling. We don't want it to be, hey, we're good in the weight room one day, and then we go all out the next day, and it just erases everything that we tried to prevent. So I think reminding those guys, like he said, the proper recovery, proper being smart about how we're treating our bodies, how we're dealing with things when we start to feel little aches and pains and all these little things of, let's be smart. It's week 3, we still have 9 weeks to go. Let's be smart about it now so that way we're not banged up at the end of the season.
Coach Cantillo, you mentioned nutrition there for a little bit. Talk about y'all's nutrition situation at Keiser.
Yeah. So Jimmy Dean's.
Jimmy Dean.
So we kind of put it within the budget, right? So every team at Keiser has a budget, and we talk, with Coach Russ. So we make like weekly Sam's trips. So that's something that we do. We take
So fun.
a Keiser van, but at the the NAIA level, it's kind of the hand we're dealt. So sometimes you do things that necessarily aren't in the job description, but we want what's best for our athletes, right? So we kind of get a lot of the pre-workout snacks and post-workout snacks for our athletes in the locker room, and it's fit within the budget. So we make a weekly Sam's trip, and we kind of take it upon ourselves to do that. But that's kind of that. They have their meals at the cafeteria, right? So they got to make, we kind of educate them, on what they should be eating there, but as far as, what we kind of provide, or, us as a football program kind of provide the athlete, it's we kind of fit that within the budget for their pre-workout and post-workout snacks and shakes and stuff like that. So that's kind of...
They're getting pre and post,
Yeah, for sure. So pre-workout, and they always have it.
What is their pre-workout and post, if I don't mind? Like, what are y'all giving them?
For them, biggest hit, go-go squeeze. They love their applesauce. They go through that
Pre-workout,
so fast. And guys will take boxes and walk out. And we're like, you have the rest of the team. They'll try to take as many as they can. Applesauce, and the other big hit is they love their bagels and cream cheese. Cream cheese and peanut butter. So we blow through bagels like crazy, and we blow through applesauce like crazy. Those are their main ones that they like.
Didn't mean to cut you off there, Coach Cantillo, but you can keep going. Sorry about that.
No, you're good. You're good. Yeah. That's no. I mean, Jazz kind of answered everything. So the bagels are a hit. The go-go squeezes, the applesauce, they love those. So that's a lot of their pre-workout and post-workout snacks. And then we've in the summer, I know we have we work with, I forgot, we get protein powder, Optimum Nutrition.
Yep.
We have Optimum Nutrition for them post-workouts.
And you just give them a scoop, or do you mix it for them? How does that work?
Yeah, we usually just give them a scoop. We'll kind of, depending on the day, we'll give them a scoop, and we make sure that they need to bring in their own bottles and everything like that. So
Yeah, and then as far as the hydration aspect, we stock up on liquid IVs when we go to Sam's Club too, so they always have extra hydration readily available. So the liquid IVs and the go-go squeeze, those things go through so fast. I'll do a run on Wednesday and everything will be out by Friday, and guys are like, well, what the heck, where is everything? Well, when some of you guys take 8 at a time, then we kind of run out within a very short amount of time. And sorry, I'm not going back till next Wednesday. I'm not going to go back just because we're out right now. Like, spread stuff out, use it. I'm glad you're being smart about it, but realize that your teammates need some too. So they kind of...
And you also mentioned
budget. I was like, we're not. They blow through applesauce so much. I think when the NFL came out with how many Uncrustables they eat per day.
Oh, yeah.
As a joke, I kind of did it just like at home, looking like we match Uncrustables in applesauce. I think
Uncrustables too. We have Uncrustables.
Yeah, we have Uncrustables. I think the Broncos have the highest.
Yeah.
Uncrustables. I think we beat that in applesauce.
Gallons and gallons of applesauce.
Might as well at this point. It's fun getting sponsored by Google.
Earlier technology as well. Is there anything you'll use technology-wise?
We have Dasher.
That's it.
Yeah,
we're looking at us. Keiser Flagship and Keiser, the chiropractic school on Jog, so just down the road. We're kind of in talks right now to getting, some vault equipment. That's something that I worked with at Georgia. I worked with Nord boards. I worked with the force plates. So we're kind of, in talks with that to see if we can kind of get that on campus here, but that's still ongoing. Right now we just have Dasher, but for the most part we don't really have Catapult. We don't have any type of VPT system that we can work with on our racks like Perch, but again, we're just trying to grow this thing, and it's fairly new for the most part, right? When Northwood was a university, Keiser kind of bought the school and then has grown it to what it is today. So we've grown a lot. But now kind of the next step for that strength and conditioning program, or for our strength and conditioning program, is just kind of start getting that equipment, start getting that technology to work with. So hopefully, cross our fingers, we get that vault equipment. That'd be huge, especially like the Nord boards. That type of equipment is amazing, and we can get that on campus. I think that'll help us out a lot, and just getting that data, and just for us and our progression as coaches to work with that, equipment and technology, but also for the athletes most importantly.
So talk about a time in your life where a player or maybe other coach has kind of a teaching moment, I guess is what I'm asking, that another athlete or coach has given you.
The other simple one is Padilla told me one time, you attract more bees with honey than with vinegar. So I think that's kind of something I've taken on, especially when I first started as a coach. It was very much, no, I'm right, I'm not going to listen to you. And I was very quick. It would get a little heated when I would try to explain things and not necessarily hear the other person's, whether it's an athlete, a sport coach that I didn't necessarily agree with, or if it's administration or something like that. So him kind of reiterating that to me kind of helped me with this head position now that I have a lot more responsibilities on my plate, and it's not just programming and coaching and dealing with it. It's learning how to be a boss, how to deal with people, time management, dealing with administrative stuff that you're not always going to agree with, but it's okay. Attract more bees with honey than with vinegar. Let's listen. Let's talk it out. Let's not be a hothead. Let's not be quick tongue. Let's not any of that stuff, because that could come back and bite us later. Let's just play nice for a little bit, and eventually, if you're not getting your way now, it's gonna happen. The more you play nice, the more you kind of give and take with people when you work with them, the more things are gonna kind of help you in the long run. So I've definitely slowed down my responses as opposed to just saying the first thing that's come out of my mouth, which could get me in trouble. So I think that's been the biggest thing is, attract more bees with honey than with vinegar. Just take your time, and everything's gonna happen. It's slow down a little bit.
And the last question, any shout outs or any kind of spotlight you don't put on anybody?
I think mine, I kind of mentioned at the beginning, it's everybody that's kind of helped me get here. Coach Durant putting me in connection with Padilla, the UCLA coaches that I've worked with. I still talk to my intern coordinator over there, Adam Garner at UCLA, and definitely my family has been a big help with this. Coach Russ, the rest of the coaching staff has been supportive throughout this entire journey you mentioned, and for sure my athletes, because they're what keeps me going, what helps me get up every single day. When we're on summer and they're not here, I get so bored just looking around like, I miss my kids. I miss my athletes. Like, I need the group back. So definitely everybody that's helped me along the way.
Yeah, for sure. Kind of, Coach Padilla, obviously the coaches here at Keiser, and, the coaches at Georgia that really, helped me out and gave me the confidence to come back and, take this full-time role. Scott Sinclair and LB Brown, Markel Clark, KJ Florence, and Coach Barber, like those guys really gave me the confidence, like, okay, like you can do this. You can coach at a high level. That I still keep in contact with those guys, and they're doing great things at their respective colleges. So shout out to them, and kind of helping me grow, outside of Keiser, right, at Georgia when they were all together on that staff. Some of them kind of departed to other to become heads or co-directors at schools, but that staff, that when I was there, man, it was a special deal. So shout out to them, and obviously they helped me get to this point too. So, and my family down in Miami, they're not too far of a drive. I'm actually seeing them this weekend for my little brother's birthday, so that'll be cool. A perk of living close to home, man. But it's been a good journey up to this point. It's been awesome.
Thank y'all so much for joining on and giving us some insight.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
Thank you for tuning in, and if you enjoyed this episode, don't forget to subscribe and leave a review. You can also follow us on Instagram for more updates at Under the Barbell Strength Podcast, and if you know someone who would love this episode, please share it with them.